Big breaking news coming out of Old Trafford today as Manchester United have officially confirmed the sacking of manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome to another video. Let's just jump straight into it, shall we? Manchester United have confirmed the sacking of manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer from his role as manager of the club. This is big breaking news. We are going to be talking all about this big breaking news story. But before we go any further, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and that would be greatly appreciated. But for now, of course, let's just jump into talking about this big breaking news story that Manchester United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer have officially parted ways. Let's face it, the writing had definitely been on the wall for a while, hadn't it? We all know how the story has gone. We all have seen how it's been documented and told and retold over the weeks, months and years. We all knew that this was going to be the conclusion of this whole Ole Gunnar Solskjaer thing. It was very unlikely that he was going to be able to turn it around at United, and so it has proven. Of course, he was never going to leave of his own accord. He had to be ushered out the door and helped out the door at Old Trafford. This was his dream job. Why would he leave of his own free will? The owners seemed very reluctant to pull the trigger on sacking the Norwegian, but they've eventually done it. And from a rival fan's point of view, this could potentially be bad news. Depending on where United go from here and what their next step is into finding a successor to Solskjaer, this could potentially be bad news. I, like so many other rival fans, have really enjoyed United's downward spiral in recent years. I haven't seen them as any kind of threat in any kind of competition for a while now. And especially with Solskjaer in charge, that didn't change. That mindset didn't change. Even when they were picking up some good results here and there, I still saw flaws within them that made me think that they're not genuine and they're not serious. The final nail in the coffin for Solskjaer in terms of being a manager at Manchester United, a coffin that obviously seemingly had been made for a while now, but has only just been used today because of obviously the news of his sacking, came when United lost in a humiliating and an embarrassing way as they were defeated by Watford 4-1. Solskjaer's job, of course, has been in serious jeopardy for some time now. The club have said to have been divided over what to do with him in terms of keeping him or letting him go. I believe they kept him for a number of reasons. There are, of course, reasons why the decision over Solskjaer had obviously dragged out this long, probably longer than what other clubs would have done and probably what a lot of fans would have done as well. I think mainly it's because he's a yes man to the owners. The owners of many clubs love a yes man to kind of deflect the attention away from what they're doing and focus on what's happening on the pitch. Solskjaer was a good deflection and a good shield for them. Obviously, I think the board feared that they had appointed another failure of a manager since, of course, Sir Alex Ferguson left, and they were desperate for Solskjaer to succeed, so they basically gave him every single chance possible to try and turn things around, which ultimately, like we now know, he wasn't able to. And of course, in the summer, if you remember, Solskjaer did sign a new contract, again showing a lot of faith in him, but also showing that they were prepared to take a massive gamble on Solskjaer, because this was a massive season for United. This was a huge season in the waiting for United at the time. A lot of expectation, a lot of promise and anticipation, and ultimately it just hasn't delivered. But yeah, those are the reasons why I believe he stayed in the job for as long as he did. But of course, across the international break, more and more of the United hierarchy, the most influential and powerful people at the club, reportedly started coming around to the idea of sacking the United legend. There were many reports and rumours that were flying around that started to snowball and gain momentum, that maybe they were starting to come around to the idea of maybe going in a different direction other than Solskjaer. And so, of course, today it's proven with the news of his sacking. The sacking brings to an end Solskjaer's reign as manager, in which he spent just shy under 3 years as United boss, having originally been appointed as interim boss, of course, and then, of course, taking the full reign, the full-time job to succeed former United manager Jose Mourinho. Solskjaer's reign started extremely well. He was picking up many good results here, there and everywhere, putting in some good performances at the time, and especially for the players that he had. He was seen as a bit of a bit of a breath of fresh air, I guess, and something that United desperately needed for some time, particularly having with things under Jose Mourinho ending so bitterly and the way that they did. But it was the result that they picked up in the Champions League against PSG, that whole turnaround in the second leg. They produced a turnaround in the second leg that really sold pundits, fans and ex-players on the idea of Solskjaer taking Manchester United forward. And in particular, of course, Rio Ferdinand. We all remember the infamous Rio Ferdinand Ollie's at the wheel, United are back speech, don't we? Look how that turned out. Obviously, hindsight's 2020, but, you know. This season, obviously, expected and demanded a lot from Manchester United. It needed to show both progression and probably some sort of silverware in any kind of form. It brought with it a lot of expectation, a lot of anticipation, and ultimately Solskjaer crumbled under that. The summer transfer window didn't help either. Bringing in the likes of Jadon Sancho, Rafael Varane and the return of Cristiano Ronaldo obviously hyped up United's season bigger than what it actually has turned out to be so far. With them kind of players and with the players that he already has, Solskjaer was expected to deliver so much this season. The anticipation was high, the expectation was high, the excitement level was high, and he failed and he crumbled under that pressure. Of course, he's not the only one that can take the blame, but of course, he is the manager, so he has to take a lot of it. This season has so far failed to live up to any of those kind of expectations. Losses to Aston Villa and Leicester were followed up by humiliating losses and embarrassing losses to the likes of Liverpool and Manchester City. And even though he managed to somehow survive and keep his job beyond those two games especially, a lot of United fans will say that he kept his job a lot longer than what he should have done until today. He somehow managed to survive until he met Watford, where they were beaten, and it ultimately is the game that cost him his job, the final nail in the coffin. Their football has gone backwards despite the quality of players upgrading season after season. The treatment of some of his players was baffling. Donny van de Beek received some extremely poor treatment throughout his United career so far, whilst the likes of Scott McTominay and Fred just had a lot of faith put in them, and they were relied upon a lot by Solskjaer in baffling ways, despite the fact they didn't seem to be playing that well at all. But that was just one example, of course, of probably many. Don't get me wrong, like I say, the club is rotten to the core. I know that from the outside looking in, that their club is rotten to the core. From the ownership to the board and everybody in the higher up power positions of the club, and everyone behind the scenes are seemingly ripping that club apart from the inside. I can see that from the outside looking in. They can't see it, seemingly. They don't seem to be realising what they're doing to that club and what they're doing to the fans of that club, because they're not footballing people. But Solskjaer definitely didn't cover himself in much glory, is I guess what I'm trying to get at. Seemingly relying on individual moments from the likes of Bruno Fernandes and, of course, more recently, Cristiano Ronaldo to kind of get him out of a hole. Or relying on strokes of luck within games to win big and important fixtures. There was no way that living off those things was ever going to last forever. And so it's proven. Don't get me wrong, I think Solskjaer did a lot right for United. I think he did the best of a horrible situation, given obviously what's behind him and above him at the club in terms of the club hierarchy. I think he's left the club in a great position for a manager or an upgraded manager to come in and take to that next level, take them back to where they want to be. I think he did well to kind of get rid of the dead wood within the squad and obviously make some great additions. I just think that obviously he just wasn't the right man to take them forward, and ultimately that's just what it comes down to. And somehow, like I say, he's managed to go a bit backwards whilst the team's gone a bit forwards, if that makes sense. What happens now though for United is basically they go in search of a new manager. That is basically it, stating the obvious, I guess, but that is of course the first step in this another attempt at a rebuild. A lot of names have been thrown around in recent times, of course. Antonio Conte was the first man to be named, but of course that strong contender is now fallen, seemingly, because the ship has sailed on that after Conte had gone to Tottenham. United really missed a trick there in trying to sign that world-class manager. Zinedine Zidane, in my opinion, would be the perfect fit for United. I think his style of play suits the club. I think the fact that he's worked with Cristiano Ronaldo and Rafael Varane before when he was at Real Madrid can work in his favour. I think he always wanted to work with Paul Pogba, and maybe he can convince him to stay at the club and maybe get more of a consistent player out of the French midfielder. But whether the Glazers and Ed Woodward would want to appoint him or not remains to be seen. Brendan Rodgers is another name to be thrown around. I don't think United fans would probably like that appointment too much. He is, of course, a former Liverpool manager. And along with that, I don't actually think many United fans are completely sold on him actually being a top quality manager, if that makes sense. He's done well at Leicester. He's built them up really well. But I just don't think many United fans are too sold on having a guy like Brendan Rodgers as their manager. Erik ten Hag is another name to be named. Again, he would be a decent fit. He's got an attacking style of play, has a history of working with youngsters and helping them grow and develop, and has done great with Ajax over the years, not just in terms of maintaining their elite status within the Dutch league, of course, but of course in helping Ajax to grow and evolve within European competitions as well. They've become a very good and tricky force within those European competitions, a real tricky and difficult team to face no matter what the opponents are for them. I think he would be a great choice, but whether he would go and jump ship to them or whether they would actually go for him, I don't know. I'm not entirely convinced on that part. So, like I say, there's a lot of names to be thrown out there. Zidane would be my choice if I was a United fan. But either way, I would expect a lot of this to be accelerated and move forward. I expect them to, whichever direction they go, I expect them to move very quickly on this. There are games coming thick and fast, of course. We are entering a very busy period of the season across the winter and Christmas break, of course. So I would expect United to really act very quickly on this, and maybe within the next few hours, or maybe even the next few days, we'll get more and more news on the potential successor of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But of course, as I always say, these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of this breaking news story that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been sacked from his role as manager of Manchester United? What do you make of this news? Who do you want to see replace Solskjaer at Old Trafford, in the hot seat? I would love to know your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, whatever you want to call it, on anything to do with this topic down below in the comment section, because I'm sure it'll all make for interesting reading. Otherwise, hit that like button on the way up if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and forever be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch, this has been another Fletch Talks video, and I will see you all again soon in another video.